Philosopher S. Jack Odell argued that a society without ethics is a society doomed to extinction. We need ethics to function in life. How else could you trust others or make sense of the world if society didn't have at least some sort of system of ethics? What are ethics? We can turn to dictionary.com, which offers 4 definitions of the plural noun ethics. Note the emphasis on moral values, specifically relating to right and wrong and good and bad. Now, as argumentation involves persuasion, we must necessarily be concerned about ethics in argumentation. Today we'll focus on why we need to be concerned about ethics in persuasion and, by extension, argumentation, ethics for arguers and receivers, and a code of conduct for practicing argumentation discourse. Turning first to why we need to be concerned about ethics in persuasion. Richard Johannesson of Northern Illinois University reminds us that ethical issues focus on value judgments concerning degrees of right and wrong and goodness and badness in human conduct. As such, persuasion always contains ethical issues for several reasons. It involves one person or a group of people who are attempting to influence other people by altering their beliefs, attitudes, values, and actions. It also involves conscious choices amongst ends sought and rhetorical means used to achieve those ends. And then it necessarily involves a potential judge. In this case, a potential judge could be any or all of the receivers, the persuader, or an independent observer. Realize that argumentation is dialogue. According to J. Vernon Jensen in 1997, dialogue is a spirit, an attitude, and a mindset that is reflected by the techniques and behaviors, the verbal and nonverbal cues of those who are interacting, in this case, arguers and recipients. So dialogue in this case means two. It involves in this case both the senders, the arguers, and the receivers, or the recipients. Notice that both sender and receiver are plural words. It can involve multiple senders and multiple receivers. So just a couple of questions to think about. Is it an ethical violation if the violation is made by accident, or a slip of the tongue, or ignorance? And also, do arguers have an ethical obligation to double-check the validity and accuracy and reasoning of their arguments and evidence before presenting it to others? Continuing the view that argumentation involves both senders, or arguers, and receivers, or recipients, it makes sense that there are ethical guidelines for both arguers and recipients. For arguers, you need to be accountable and responsible, provide the audience with the ability to make voluntary decisions. You're not coercing or forcing, and you're promoting positive relationships with your audience. For recipients, you need to be aware of attempts to influence you. You need to be critical thinkers, critical receivers. You should also be informed and be aware of your own biases. Finally, you'll need to understand how fallacies persuade. Now here's a big long code of conduct for practicing argumentation discourse, and I know that you can stop this video and read all of them, and of course I know that you are going to do that. But in other words, the underlying value of all of these is that you need to be honest. Now there are obviously other considerations as it relates to debate, whether academically or in the courtroom. Specifically, do not advocate something in which you do not believe yourself. If you're given the assignment to argue the case for capital punishment in a classroom debate, you will likely have strong views on the topic, and you may not even be arguing the side that you support. However, in the interest of the receivers being able to make appropriate decisions, both viewpoints, the pro and the con, need to be represented. In this case, as in a court of law, for example, you could argue that ethics require you to construct the best arguments possible so that an informed decision can be made. Processing time. Why is it important for a society to have a system of ethics? What is the underlying principle behind the code of conduct for practicing argumentation discourse? And are there ever any exceptions to ethics? As you move forward in your study of argumentation, please keep in mind that while you may want to win an argument or win a debate, you must also be an ethical advocate.